Today we're talking about Microsoft Dynamics 365, specifically about project service functionality, including project service automation, assigning and reconciling resources, tracking project milestones, and more. Hello Dynamics community, I'm Dave from Bond Consulting Services. One of our experts, Kelsey, will be guiding you through the powerful capabilities in Dynamics 365 Project Service. Let's get started.
In this walkthrough of project operations today, we're going to start from the sales process, which includes the opportunity, the quote, and the project contract. In this example, we're looking at the sales area within project service. So within my navigation pane on the left-hand side, instead of being in projects, we are in the sales area and opening up the opportunities table or entity to review an opportunity record. In this example, we have our project service opportunity sales process at the top of our screen. This business process flow can be used by the salespeople and is used to assist the salespeople with creating a quote as well as creating the project contract for this opportunity record. Some things that I want to point out are on the opportunity lines here. We have two sections. We have the project baselines and the product baselines. Project baselines are usually going to have a billing method of either fixed fee or time and material. In this example, we've added our consulting services as the project baseline here. Within this project baseline is where we can add our project information. Baselines show any physical products that might be purchased and used within our project baselines for this particular customer. I'm going to go ahead and click on the quotes tab to show you the related quotes to this opportunity. At this point, I can go ahead and open up an existing quote that we have that relates to this opportunity. On our quote record here, we have general information such as the name of this quote, which came from our original opportunity, the potential customer, as well as the product price list and a link to our original opportunity as well. We also have the billing information listed on this quote. This is important for the accounting system to know. We can click on the quote lines and we can see the project baseline that was brought over from our original opportunity record. At this point, before we know that our quote is going to be won, we can get started on creating our project. So I can double click on this project baseline to open it up. So here we are on the consulting services quote line of my server upgrade quote. Now I can start creating the project for this particular quote. So I can click here, click plus new project, and we're just going to enter some general information into my quick create project form. So this is a server upgrade. We can add a description. We can note whether or not this is a template. We can add a project template as well, which I'm going to add. And then we can go ahead and add an estimated start date if we have one. And then we can go ahead and save and close. At that point, our project record has been created and is now attached to our consulting services quote line. Now, at this point, we've created our project record for our consulting services quote line. We can go back to our original quote. And our salespeople can continue to process this quote as they would any other quote in the system. So that may include closing this quote as one and then creating an order or a project contract from this original quote record. In order to get back to our original quote record so we can close it as one, we can click on this quote hyperlink here called server upgrade. At this point, we can now close this quote as one and create the order or project contract record that will be used for invoicing. So I can click close as one. I can go ahead and close this quote as one. And now we have our project contract record open. So now let's take a deeper look at the project itself. We can go directly to the project through our contract lines here. And we can click on our project server upgrade. This is a project that we made in the previous steps. So at this point, we're looking at the project called server upgrade. We have the project's customer attached to this record, as well as a project template that we use to create the schedule for this project, as well as the different estimates added. These estimates are calculated from the schedule that's identified in the previous page. Looking at the project record within Dynamics 365 project operations. This was a project record that we created from our quote project-based line. We also added a project template for a server upgrade project. Adding that project template of server upgrade project allows us to have our schedule already set up so our users don't have to go in there and create a new schedule for every project. Within our schedule, we can change the start and end dates based off of what is available and what's feasible for our organization. Additionally, in each one of these scheduled tasks here, if you scroll to the right-hand side over to the resources column, this is where you can assign specific resources to each individual task within this particular project. As of right now, the resources that are added are all very generic, but we can create a team and we can book actual users of the system to fill in the spots for these generic resources for business analyst, server administrator, and project manager. Another thing to add while looking at our schedule here on our project is that you can indent and outdent different scheduled tasks based off of the parent association for that particular task. Additionally, in this column, predecessor column, you can fill this out in case there are any steps that need to be filled out first before we can get to those particular tasks. In this example, let's look at our migrate user credentials task right here. This requires that step 2.1, gather home directories of users, is completed first before we can move on to the migrate user credentials task. Each task within the schedule can be moved up or down based off of whatever requirements are needed. Additionally, we can edit or add new tasks as needed. On the team tab, we have a list of all of the team members needed for this particular project. If this project has been booked already, usually the team members would show actual user names. In this example, we haven't scheduled or booked our resources yet for this project, so that's why we have generic resources listed for our server administrator role and our business analyst role. By default, since my BCS demo user is the user that created this project, I get added as a project manager, but I can reassign that to anybody else as needed. At this point, we can go ahead and look at our resource assignments. In this section, we're going to go over how resources enter their time for a specific project and project task. So where we're looking at right now within project operations is the time entries table. This is where a resource can enter their time that they've worked on a specific project and project task. In order to do this, resources can click on the plus new button, which will open up a quick create time entry screen. At this point, we can enter the duration of the time entry, the type of work that it was, and we can select the specific project that we worked on. Additionally, we can select the specific project task that our resource was scheduled to work on. In this case, that's going to be support. And the role should default from whatever your resource role is set to. At this point, we can add an additional description if we need to, or any external comments. If you don't have any of those, you can go ahead and click Save and Close. Now that our time entry record has been created, we can now submit this time entry record for approval. We submit our time entry records by selecting our time entry record like so, and clicking the Submit button. Submitting a time entry record pushes this entry record to the approvals page for the project manager to then review and approve. You can recall your time entry record anytime while it's still in a submitted status. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and navigate to the approvals table and act as if we are a project manager approving the time that was just submitted. So we're going to go ahead and click on approvals on the left-hand side, and that should open up our time entries for approval view. So you can see here that I now have a single time entry record that's ready for approval. I can go ahead and select this time entry record like so, and I can go ahead and click approve at the top of my screen. So now if I go back to my time entries table, I should be able to see that my most recent time entry record has now been approved. So entering your time entry records as a resource is really important for projects that are a time and material billing, due to the fact that that's the way that we are generating the different transactions that should be added to your invoice. So at this time, we can go ahead and go to our sales section. Before we're ready to create an invoice for our project contract, we first need to go to our time and material billing backlog to make sure that any transactions that have been entered via a time entry record are ready for invoicing. So it's really easy to do that. We can go ahead and navigate to our time and material billing backlog here in the navigation pane on the left-hand side. Then we can go ahead and select any needed time and material billing backlog records, such as the one that I just created when I created my time entry record. And then I can just click on the Ready to Invoice button. So clicking on the Ready to Invoice button is going ahead and marking this time and material billing backlog record. Open up this record for our time and billing material backlog, and you can now see, if I scroll down a little bit, that my billing status is now set to Ready to Invoice. Now I'm ready to create my invoice for my time and material project. I can click on the project contracts table here. Now I'm ready to open my project contract record. And now I can go ahead and create my invoice by clicking on the Create Invoice button in the command bar at the top of my screen. I now have the option to review any of the data on my new generated invoice, and I can make changes as needed while everything is still unlocked. I wanted to point out that at the top of my screen, my project invoice status is in draft mode currently, which means that I'm still free to make changes as needed. Once this invoice is confirmed is when we can't make any changes, because at that point, invoice actual records will be created and applied to the project and project contract. So let's say that this invoice is looking good and I'm ready to confirm my invoice so that I can further import this or transfer this over to my accounting system. I can go ahead and click this confirm button at the top of my page. And clicking on that confirm button changed my project invoice status to confirmed, as well as it locked everything else down on my invoice here on the left hand side. Additionally, I can mark this invoice as paid once the invoice is paid, or I can export this invoice information from Dynamics 365 Project Operations and import it into my accounting system.
Thank you, Kelsey, for showcasing the Dynamics 365 solution. And thank you, Dynamics 365 community, for your attention. We hope you enjoy this video. Subscribe to our channel if you want to learn more about utilizing Dynamics 365 to grow your business. Click here for our related videos. Utilize our website down below.